Imagine a magnetic nuclear force that tugs at the deepest desires of a man's soul, like the gravitational pull of a celestial body. Female sex appeal has an undeniable power and force over a man's body and mind, igniting a primal fire within them that doesn't just affect them, it also affects other women, and most importantly, it affects your life, man or woman. All right. So today we're gonna be talking about the uncontrollable power that is the female body. That it's a female sexiness, to be more exact, in this video. And this video is going to be very in length, so I want you to sit down and pay attention. And men and women can watch this video. And this video not only is more of an educational video, but is also a warning of the dark side of female sex appeal, of how it could potentially destroy your life, your social life, your professional life, and personal life. All right. So sit down and relax, because in this video we're going to talk about how it affects men, how it affects women, and also at the end we're gonna be having a video breakdown of this YouTuber called Coves, where he breaks down pretty privilege and it goes deeper into the effects of female sex appeal. Now, mind you, if you're sensitive about these types of topics, if you're very sensitive about, if you think this video might be triggering for some people, because I will talk about the effects of the female body in a way that it affects men, and sometimes that topic can make it seem like you're making excuses for men. But unfortunately, what you ladies and what people have to understand is that the female sex appeal was selected to completely distract men, to whatever the hell. Like, they could be about to pick up their baby, and if you see a woman with the heavies walking right in your face, your body will literally pay attention to that baby and forget about the not baby. Pay attention to her and forget about the baby for at least half a second. It's to the point, people, that if you tell a group of 100 straight and gay men for the whole day, don't look at a woman's cleavage, put them to walk around in the street, by the end of within the next hour, all of them will be dead. Because none of them will resist looking at a woman. This is a nuclear power that revolves. In fact, the most valuable thing in the world today, unfortunately, is a beautiful woman, a sexy girl. That's just, you could have a man who saved the world from complete nuclear annihilation, and he'll have to wait in line to get in the club. But a girl who didn't do anything but just looks pretty will literally skip the man who saved the world and get more respect, more privileges, and more things simply because of how she looks. You gotta be like the next coming of the Messiah to outshine a beautiful woman. So let's talk about this in this video. And if you guys enjoy this topic, please let me know in the comments down below. This is actually one of my favorite videos to make, to be honest with you. I'm kind of excited to make it. And don't forget, we're having 50% off all of our courses using the coupon code MINDFUL, and 20% off my one-on-one coaching calls and email coaching using the coupon code MINDFUL. Okay, so let's begin so let's talk about what sexiness is at first. Okay, it's very important for us to understand this, because sexiness and beauty are two completely different things. Right? First of all, sexiness is about youth, or the appearance of youth and physical appeal. Where beauty, we could talk about what beauty, we could talk about how beauty affects a man's body and mind tomorrow. But beauty goes beyond the physical. It's more of a harmony between the person's age, how they look, and their perception of themselves. Beauty is like it's more harmonics. For example, you could have a good outfit and you could have great clothing, right? But if the colors don't match, it doesn't have harmony, right? So beauty is more about harmony, where as you're aging, you're aging gracefully, you're not resisting, and you're changing the way that you dress, the way that you see yourself, according to how time is affecting how you look, per se, right? Beauty is just all about the harmony of everything. Your mind is straight, your emotions are straight, everything is harmonic. That's beauty. Sexiness is more of a quick thing. Beauty is something that is an inner harmony that radiates from within. Sexiness is just pure power and force. Sexiness tends to have a more immediate and provocative impact. Sexiness has a fast, short life, where beauty is long lasting. Okay, so and that's why a lot of women who are really sexy, deep down they understand that, right? But now let's talk about before we talk about how sexiness affects men, because that is a topic of the video. Let's talk about how sexiness affects women more importantly, because you have more to fear from other women than other men. Okay, at least a man who finds you sexy will give you something, right? He'll promote you, even though he's trying to promote you to get you to like him. He'll give you something. You might even get more tips. Women react to female sexiness completely different than men do, and it's a little bit more dangerous, right? Women naturally, people say that men want to suppress female sexiness, and it is true, right? Especially depending on the culture, but more so women. What ratio that is, I don't know, but all I know is that women do suppress other women's sexiness. Why? Now, this suppression is cultural. Not every culture does that, okay? But too sexy is threatening to other women. Being too sexy is threatening, okay? Now, to men, being too sexy is distracting and alluring to them, at least in terms of appearance of promiscuity, because appearing sexy is more so, it's not just how good looking the girl is, it's pretty much how much skin is she showing, right? Because usually a woman will unconsciously dress more provocatively when they're their most fertile, right? A woman is most fertile around her 20s, okay? So sexiness is more of you're sending signals of fertility. You're telling guys unconsciously, you may not think so, but that's what the body is saying. I am fertile, pay attention to me. And women find that threatening. They don't like that, especially in a work or school setting. So what does that mean, right? Now, mind you, sexiness, again, like I said, it's not just symmetry. It's also how much skin you're showing. That really means a lot. Women will then, if they find you to be too sexy, if they find you to be dressing provocatively out of context, women will bully you indirectly, and they call this indirect aggression. Where women, and the beauty about this indirect aggression is that men cannot perceive it, because these are subtle things that men are just not paying attention to. Men pay attention to large movements. Women pay more attention to the subtle movements, So a man cannot perceive it. Why? Because aggression to a man is physical. It's obvious. Everyone sees it when two men are fighting. Some people can never see when two women are fighting, because the way that women bully each other is through looking up and down, right? That's one thing. Or as soon as you leave, they start laughing or even mimicking you, right? Or they'll try to slut shame you or start spreading rumors about you. Or if you're new to a new workplace and you dress too provocatively, they'll tell you something like, who are you trying to impress? We don't really dress like this here. Right? So girls will bully. Now, here's a video of the originator who talked about female aggression speaking about it. Watch this. This is why you got to be careful with other women.
Women can be bitchy.
Indeed.
Is that what this is?
Indeed. And I'm gonna get emails telling me I can't believe you just said that.
But what does that mean? How do we do that?
So we do things like we exclude people from the peer group.
By the way, I found her on the Chris Williamson podcast. Great podcast you should check out.
But what does that mean? How do we do that?
So we do things like we exclude people from the peer group.
Yes.
We give the silent treatment.
Yes.
That customary, I won't speak to you for 3 weeks.
And these are things that guys are just not aware of.
And then you have to figure out why I'm mad at you.
Or what's wrong? Nothing.
Oh, nothing.
Yes.
Nothing. We'll spread rumors about the person, so we'll disparage their appearance. We'll suggest that they're promiscuous, those sorts of things.
And men don't do this?
They do it.
But men were just more physical in our bullying. Women are just more discreet about it.
They just don't do it as much as we do. So when we aggress against somebody, we do it indirectly. When men aggress against others, a lot of times it's direct, it's verbal.
And everyone can see it. But with women, it's hard to tell who's enemies with who with women. With guys, it's obvious.
I didn't like what you did. With us, we don't say it so directly.
So how did you do this study?
Women will bully you if you're dressing too provocatively. And those are the ones that you have to fear because they will ruin your reputation. The way that women bully is through attacking your reputation. So it's even worse because your reputation is the most important thing. You have to guard your reputation with your life. And a woman, if they are jealous of you because you're dressing too sexy and too provocatively, will sabotage you. They will ruin.
Law 5. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Judgment. Reputation is the cornerstone of power. Through reputation alone, you can intimidate and win. Once it slips, however, you are vulnerable and will be attacked on all sides. Make your reputation unassailable. Always be alert to potential attacks and thwart them before they happen. Meanwhile, learn to destroy your enemies by opening holes in their own reputations. Then stand aside and let public opinion hang them.
This is where the sad part happens, right? Because I was thinking about this the other day, and I noticed that a lot of girls who don't have fathers get bullied a lot. Now, why is that? Well, when a girl doesn't have a father, studies show that they go into puberty a lot sooner. Even if the daughter lives with a dad that she thinks is her real dad, but it's not her real biological dad. You might think that he's your dad, but he's really not. Your body knows he's not your dad, so you're still gonna develop a lot earlier. Studies have shown that women go into puberty at an earlier age when they're not exposed to their biological father. So what happens? This girl then all of a sudden starts developing sooner. So that means that she'll be one of the first girls in her school that is her age that will start growing breasts, that will start having a curve. So what does that mean? That means that she's gonna start getting good, sexy. I don't want to say that in this video, people, but in this video, what the fuck? She's gonna start getting her woman's body at an earlier age. So what happens? Girls are gonna notice that, and they're gonna notice other boys paying attention to her. So they're gonna bully her, right? And so that's why you have a lot of girls who develop earlier, who hide their bodies and develop low self-esteem. And a lot of people say, why is it that usually the good-looking girls, the ones with low self-esteem? Because a lot of times, sometimes they get attention too early, and that attention creates jealousy, and it causes other girls not to like them, and that girl would then start making friends with boys a lot more, right? But essentially, girls without fathers develop faster, and so they'll get attention from boys sooner, and thus they'll get bullied by other girls, right? So that's one thing, right? Getting bullied by other women is a problem, and that's why to prevent that, you have to. Unfortunately, you see, this is the part that I don't like. It's like when I get clients from Saudi Arabia. My husband is cheating on me with 3 other women, but I can't divorce and I can't leave. What should I do? What? Just put a handcuff on me, my love. I can't do nothing. You got to deal with it. You got to deal with the situation. It's a shitty situation that you're in. You can't escape. You have to accept that you can't escape and make the best out of it. Those are the hardest clients for me to get. This is a very similar situation here. This is just human. I did not make people. Okay, stop getting mad at me watching this video. I did not make them. I'm just explaining. Unfortunately, your sex appeal will come with more social problems from other women. I just had to put that out there. Now, how does it affect men? And by the way, you guys can look at these studies, man. Like, I'm gonna see if I could post some studies, but there's just too many studies that I just. I may put it in the description down below, to be honest with you. But how does sexiness affects men? This is the really interesting one. When you dress sexy, it makes men want to give you more. Studies show that women with bigger boobs get more tips. Women with bigger boobs get more opportunities. They just do. They get more sugar daddies, right? If you're working at an industry, any manager will tell you that the most beautiful waitress gets the most tips, and people order more. That's just how things work. In other words, men want to give. When a man sees something sexy, they want to provide, and the reason why that is because evolutionarily, when a man likes you, he wants to give. He wants to give you, because back then that giving would have helped you and your child to get provided for, right? So that's why a lot of attractive women will tell you that they get DMs from men all the time trying to fly them out. Like, they'll tell you that. And heck, Even Father Alex does that, okay? Okay, I'm not privy from that. Even I do that. I'm a human being, people. Father Alex flies women out. I cannot believe it. Right? So really, and we're gonna talk about this later at the last portion of the video about pretty privilege, but pretty much you get more free stuff. Men just want to give. Even broke men will take from the children and give to you. I'm telling you, man. Like show me that homeless hot girl, and you'll notice that her tip jar is always full. Let me show you this part where this woman experimented from, I think the show Mythbusters, Busters, whether or not big boobs predicts higher tips. Now let's watch this, and it's actually kind of fascinating.
Every single day, each day with a different breast size, and we'll see how the tips average out.
I like it.
Now, I'll be working the same shift every
I don't know if you guys watch this show. It's actually a really good show. And I'm going to pause it from time to time so I don't get demonetized.
day. I'll be wearing the same clothes every day. I'll be wearing the same wig and contacts every day. The only thing that's going to change
Is the heavies.
is my breast size.
She's simply irrepressible. And by ensuring she
And think about how much do you guys really think it's going to affect it. And mind you, remember, what you got to understand, think about from a man's perspective. Even if he knows he can't be with you, it's an instinct to give more. That's why women, when they're asking something from their husbands, like, you know, the trope on in movies where they're like, they show more cleavage, they're like, baby, can you buy me this? And there's a truth why that works.
the same level of service every day, the only variable will be her breasts. Question is, does what's up top affect the bottom line?
Today, Carrie is sporting a triple
And I am going to assume it does.
D bra size. Is she gonna get bigger tips? We're about to find out.
He's just staring at the boobs.
Right? Look at him. He's just smiling. And I know that look, people, whenever I see that, I look too. It's an instinct.
He's thinking really hard about something. And tipped.
And we got a tip out of him.
Wait.
Oh,
Ooh.
he put in $2. What?
People, I've done this before. I've anytime when I really like the girl, I tip them more. You know, it's as opposed to a dude, I tip them fairly.
Dollars, people.
Thank you.
Is $1 for both of you.
Yeah.
In its broadest, most reductive form,
And I imagine boob guys tip more and butt guys tip less.
Oh my God, look at them. They're like trying not to look, but they can't help it.
Yeah.
It's like their monkey brain's taking over.
Yeah, it's the eyes, and even the eyes has neurons. Like the eyes have neurons, so your brain will literally tell your eyes to look, and involuntarily you will look. It's like getting mad at somebody for getting electrocuted and moving their hands. It's like, have you ever gotten electrocuted? You can't help it. Your hand moves. It's almost like the same involuntary reaction. It's like salivating at seeing tasty food.
evolutionary theory suggests that a full cleavage is a visual indication of reproductive potential.
Thanks.
He's still checking her out. It's instinct.
And in a positive
And in today's society, it's toxic. Jesus Christ, people are so devoid of human nature nowadays.
feedback loop, men who find that trait attractive are more likely to be reproductively successful.
I think he forgot his drink.
But that's
They even forgot his drink. Remember, we're gonna talk about later how the sexiness causes you to focus intently on the boobs and just literally forget about everything else. Like, so you could be talking to me, and if you're really attractive, I'm gonna be focused on how good looking you are. I remember when I first came out of the meditation retreat, I haven't seen a beautiful girl in like 10 days, right? And I just came out of like a complete isolation of meditation for 10 days. And I remember seeing the first attractive girl, and and she was like this 20-something-year-old girl. I remember how she looked. She didn't look like how I see girls now. She looked even hotter. The impression that she gave me was she looked fucking healthy. That was the impression. Her skin seemed very thick and vibrant. Her there were sweat, but not like sweaty, but like, you know, like shininess. There was like a vibrancy in her skin color. It was red. And just the overall physical impression that I got of her was just healthy. Like I was like, yo, that girl's healthy as fuck. Like I don't know why I saw her that way. And mind you, I just came out of the 10-day meditation retreat. So everything looked very real and raw to me. And I was still in a deeply meditative state because I just came out of it the day before. So when you're in that, you see reality very, very, very real. Like my thoughts felt like they were like they were holograms. That's how deeply in reality I was. And I remember seeing that hot girl, and it just, again, she just looked like you know when you see a flower and it just looks vibrant and healthy? That's how she looked. The concept of like she was hot didn't come to me. The concept of like, damn, look at that ass didn't come to me. The concept of like, man, look at them titties didn't come to me. The only concept that I was focusing on was that she is healthy. Like like honestly, like I don't think you guys understand how, like there's like understanding that concept and then just literally seeing it. I literally saw humans from an alien's point of view.
Theory.
And I remember like it stood out. The way it stood out was almost like almost like a beautiful blooming flower in the middle of the desert. She just stood out. Oh my God. To this day, I remember her.
Did you see that?
Yep.
The knowing bro look.
Yep.
Look, did you see that?
Yep.
The knowing bro look.
Yeah, when two guys see a girl and guys do that all the time. When a hot girl passes by, we all look at each other and we nod.
Yep. They both know what they're thinking about.
How do the numbers
See how much we got here.
stack up in reality?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's $98. That's way more than yesterday.
A statistic.
So okay, so it says $72 per customer for C cups. Okay, let's see.
Significant 30% more, meaning this myth is controversially but firmly concluded.
So in the control group, she got 72 cents. And when she had small boobs, 72 cents. When she had bigger heavies, she got 30% more.
So it turns out the size of your breast does have an effect on the size of your tips. Now, Carrie's male customers were tipping about 90 cents per customer. But when Carrie put on her big boobs, the average tip increased to $1.23. That's significant.
Woo!
And that's why Hooters exists, people.
These things are earners.
Cool.
And this is something that you might even see in interviews, right? We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about towards the end of the video about pretty privilege and different forms of pretty privilege at the end of the video. And that video is gonna be a reaction to Coves, which is a really fun YouTube channel, but it relates to this topic. But let's continue. So that's one thing. Men want to give more opportunity. Now the problem with the giving is that men will give expecting something in return. That's the problem. Men give expecting something in return. Men are not walking Gandhi's people. Men always have an ulterior purpose why they're given to women that they don't know. Just because they look good. It's usually to impress them. It's usually to get some hope, a chance to impress her. The next thing is that being an attractive is being a sexy woman will cause men to pay more attention to you, but their memories are going to be affected. In other words, when you're attractive and you're presenting something to a man who finds you attractive, they're not going to be listening to the substantial thing that you're saying because they're too distracted with the physical appeal. In other words, you might be selling me Red Bull and telling me why Red Bull is good for me, but I am going to be listening to you. I'm going to be listening to every word that you're saying. But what I am really paying attention to is your sensuality. When I listen to you, I just feel the pleasure of your voice. When I am looking at you, I am looking at the beauty of your face and the beauty of your body. And studies show that literally men will forget the substantial things that you're saying, even though they paid attention to you. Why? Because, for example, it says that when a sexy woman is seen, they remember her more and they reduce the recollection of everything else. So they may not fully focus on you because of the sex appeal. In other words, this was a study that was done. Let me show you guys right now. Let me show you this. It says, the results substantiated the evolutionary psychology claim. Support for the motivation, information processing, and distracting hypothesis was found in male viewers. The results indicate that sexual appeal enhanced memory for the advertisement themselves. Okay, but they distract men from processing the brand related information. In other words, you might be telling me how great this water you're selling me, and I will remember the water in you, but I won't remember the details because more of my brain was focused on you, on your beauty. So you're telling me things, I'm listening, but this overbearing magnetic attraction to your physical nature blocks out my ability to focus on the details of the words, right? I'll pay attention to the details of the physical face. My frontal cortex isn't really is being hijacked by my limbic system. My sexual brain is literally hijacking my information processing part of the brain. So where I'm just processing you emotionally, like I'm seeing the physical appeal of you. So I'm not really thinking rationally. So in that moment, I'll make some really stupid decisions, like give you more, pay attention to you more than I should be paying attention to my friends. It's really distracting. Male participants encoded and recalled less brand-related information from advertisement with sexual appeal, which is really remarkable, right? And again, this is not blaming women. This is just giving you credit to how much power you have over men, right? So that's one thing. Now let's listen to one of my writings where I describe this in a little bit more depth, because I find the way that I write versus the way that I speak, I convey information differently. Let's listen.
To be more visually distracted. Men's tendency to be more visually distracted by a beautiful woman can be attributed to a combination of scientific reasons rooted in biology and psychology. From an evolutionary standpoint, men are biologically programmed to seek out potential mates who exhibit signs of fertility and genetic fitness.
I mean, literally, they can't help it. They cannot help but not look at a beautiful woman.
This innate drive, shaped by millions of years of evolution, can cause men to be more responsive to visual cues associated with female attractiveness. In terms of brain wiring, research suggests that men's brains may show stronger activation in certain areas when processing visual stimuli, particularly those related to female beauty. The visual cortex, responsible for processing visual information, and the reward system, associated with pleasure and motivation, may exhibit increased activity when men encounter attractive women. This heightened neural response can contribute to the distracting effect that beautiful women have on men. Metaphorically speaking, the overwhelming effect a beautiful woman has on a man's attention can be likened to a mesmerizing work of art in a crowded gallery. Just as a captivating painting draws the viewer's gaze, a stunningly beautiful woman can command a man's attention due to the combination of aesthetic appeal and innate biological responses. Like a masterpiece that elicits awe, a beautiful woman can captivate a man's senses and temporarily divert his focus from other stimuli.
And that is called the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is the part of your brain that focuses on what's evolutionarily advantageous and what's evolutionarily dangerous. It's more geared towards focusing on danger, but when they're like, for example, like if I see a beautiful woman and then a bomb goes off the next street, I could promise you, fuck that beautiful woman. I'm focusing on the bomb, right? But outside of the bomb, men are wired to look at what could potentially provide value. Like if you're hungry and you're talking to your boys and then there's a plate of food walking, everyone will focus on the plate of food. So the valuable resources in this world is food, and to men it's also women, because the same part of the brain that processes good food and wanting to eat is the same part of the brain that processes wanting to get with women. And also the notion that the male brain is wired to pay more attention to women than anything else is a complex topic, right? Evolutionarily, men have a biological drive to seek out potential mates for reproduction. This drive can lead to an increased attention and interest in women. This inclination has been shaped by millions of years of evolution, where the survival and success of species depended on fulfilling this, finding a suitable partner. And also culturally as well. Culture emphasizes the importance of physical appearance to sexual attraction, which can contribute to men paying more attention to women. In fact, media and advertisement and cultural narratives often portray women as objects of desire, reinforcing this focus. But just because it's a cultural thing doesn't mean it doesn't have a grain of truth. Even so, men buy more things when women are selling it. They may not know what they're buying, but if you're a woman and you're selling it, they'll buy it. Like, studies show that having a woman sell something to men, it leads to more sales, right? Like we showed in the previous, like in the same video where we were doing that study of how tips are different depending on how big your boobs are. People, I did not make men. Don't get mad at me for this. Heck, even studies show that men cannot help at looking at cleavage. Like boys are wired to look at moving objects. Women are more wired to look at objects that are standing still. So when a woman is walking by, it's not just exactly for that purpose, but it also explains that men are just wired to look at things that are moving. Men are wired to look from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another. Like even boys, parents will tell you that when they have male babies, that the male babies pay more attention to the moving objects more than eye contact. But girls pay more attention to the eyes than moving objects. Now, so because of that, men are just more easily distracted by a woman's body. That's just how that works. Like, have you seen a woman walking by a construction site? I mean, it's pretty pathetic. Guys we just look like a bunch of hungry dogs, right? Now, the next one is that you gain less respect. This is the sad part, right? Now, when you are attractive, you gain more opportunities. But with that opportunity comes the person who gave you the opportunity usually have ulterior motives. So the opportunities are more tinted with ulterior motives, which can make women be resentful towards men. But generally, being too sexy or dressing sexy, right, or appearing provocative or appearing promiscuous gains less respect from men. And it is a sexist world. There is double standards, people. There's double standards for women and men. Now, the good part about this is that, yes, now let's talk about the good part later. But men, in order to respect you, you must be or appear to be one of the boys. If you are too feminine in a workplace, in a school environment, men won't respect you. Men will look at you as less competent. That's just how that works. I'm sorry. That's just what the studies. Don't get mad at me. I did not make man. I wasn't with God wiring and making programming functions for men. You know, no. That's just how men are. They will respect you less. So that's why, as a woman, if you are really sexy or you dress sexy, you have to stop that. Like, I hate to say that to you because, you know, I'm a man, so it's kind of weird. But you got to develop and dress in a more masculine way. There's a reason why that is. If you notice any of the top, look at Elizabeth Holmes, right? Let's look at Elizabeth Holmes right here, because she's a perfect example. Well, she's a bad example in terms of not being real, right? But Elizabeth Holmes was one of the women that conned the whole world into giving her money. And one of the ways that she did that, she changed her whole image. Let me show you, right? Elizabeth Holmes before and after, right? Hopefully there's a picture of her before she was before she became freaking Steve Jobs II, right? But essentially, the way Elizabeth Holmes was what I consider a con artist, right? Where she conned a bunch of people into giving her money for her company. What people didn't know was that she was faking everything, right? She was faking her voice. She was faking the way she spoke. She was faking her dress. Everything. Now, I found a video of her faking her voice. Listen to this, people. This is crazy. And this shows you she's not stupid. She's evil. But she's not stupid. Look how plain this is. This is literally like a 2-color palette. And later on, we're going to talk about how dressing, how sex appeal is more permissible in women of lower rank at a job versus women of higher rank. But look at this. Look at this. And again, she did this because she knew. This is how she was able to scam so many men. Listen to this.
What happens when you work to change things and first they think you're crazy, then they fight you.
It says research has shown that women with lower pitched voices are viewed as stronger, more competent, and more trustworthy. Elizabeth Holmes has a natural high-pitched female voice, but the intentionality lowers her voice because of this reason. This has been identified in sociopathic behavior. I'm not asking you guys to be sociopathic, ladies, okay? I'm not asking for a bunch of freaking Jasons and a bunch of Terminators walking around here. I'm just asking you to be aware of the consequences of having too much femininity in your voice and too much natural sensuality, which is not your fault. It's just how human nature is, you know? Men back in the days, in our ancestors' days, men didn't work with women because the way that men worked was hunting. Women worked with other women in terms of men hunted and women gathered. Listen.
And then all of a sudden you change the world. And I have to say, I personally was shocked to see that the journal would.
So this is how her voice sounds like.
According to
now, this is the real voice.
My sources, it was an employee who joined the company in 2011. Had a meeting with her shortly after he joined, and it was late in the day, and they were finishing up the meeting.
Right, so it's late in the day, and she's tired, and that's when people are tired. Usually, the mask slips off.
And she sort of expressed her excitement that he had recently joined, and
excitement, right? Usually, uncontrollable, in the moment emotions reveal your true self, right? Like in the moment. Not uncalculated emotions like excitement, fear. That's why if you're a guy and somebody scares you, the way you scream says a lot. So if you scream like, oh, like that's unconscious, my man. That's who you are, you know?
She got up, she forgot to put on the baritone and slipped back into a more natural sounding young woman's voice.
Was everything about
it was a
if I use No, it hasn't. Well, if I use traditional words to describe what we're doing,
right?
It's
No,
hard
it
because
hasn't.
People then associate.
Listen to it.
No, it hasn't. Well, if I use traditional words to describe what we're doing, it's hard because people then associate it with conventional processes for analyzing drugs in development or whatever aspects we may be applying.
This is how you talk to men, unfortunately, ladies. Because by you talking to men in a more masculine way, it doesn't turn on their predatory, let me get the poom poom, automatic part of their brain. But by speaking in a high pitched, it's like the high pitched sound of a crying baby to an eagle. It's gonna notice it. It's gonna be like, okay, there's prey over there. It sounds high pitched. It sounds like it's crying. It sounds like it's alone. Let's go for it. Like, and honestly, I'm saying this, and I'm trying to not make it seem like I'm blaming women. What I'm trying to tell you is just the power. This is a power that you can't control at its full force, but you could definitely suppress it a little bit, which is a shame, you know.
Our technology too, but no, it hasn't. Well, if I
right, so that's her real voice, and this is one lady, like I said, she scammed a lot of people by just having the appearance of a masculine man and talking masculine and just being more about business and completely removing any sensuality from the way that she looks. And that's how she dressed everywhere, right? And look at how she used to dress right here, right? Where she was more, her hair was more down. That was before she actually got to the position that she was. But she realized that in order to gain the power, she needs to almost like nuke any femininity, any outward forms of femininity, unfortunately. Now, there are no photos of her before and after, but if you notice, look at the way she dresses, right? She was a type of person that she got the attention of a lot of billionaires, but I could promise you that one of the reasons was because of just her. She is a beautiful girl, but notice how she suppresses it. She dresses in a like Steve Jobs, like just like fucking like a just plain white bread, people. Okay, and there's a reason why that is. Or even let's look at Angela Merkel is an example of that, right? And just notice how she dresses. It's simplicity, and look, what the fuck? Look at this, man. She's literally dressing like Kim Jong Il here, man. Like, look at this. Like, I mean, not here, but I'm just saying that it's not just look at that. Like, that's legit Kim Jong Il type of like dressing, right? I'm not telling you to dress like a dictator, but what I'm telling you is that literally dressing in a more simple, not with like tight clothing type of thing, will have a dramatic effect. You're still going to be pretty, right? Obviously, but that will have a big effect, and that's something that could potentially benefit you, right? But just dress just the way you dress, people. And unfortunately, when you dress in a more conservative way, you just gain more respect. Like, you'll get more attention when you dress sexy, you get more opportunities, but with that comes with a lack of disrespect, and people will assume that you're not as smart as you really think you are. For example, let me show you a video of George Costanza when he was hiring he was trying to hire a woman that wouldn't distract him. Let me show you. So this episode, George Costanza is trying to hire a woman that's not too attractive, okay? And because he keeps getting distracted, but he doesn't want to sleep with her. So notice how he hires women, and this is toxic, people. But this is kind of interesting how that works. How the most plain looking woman was perceived to be more serious, and unfortunately, if you dress too, if everything is just too naturally beautiful, people, like the sad part is that it's not conducive for getting work done. Like it's I know it sounds so sexist, people, but just watch.
Well, I type about 90 words a minute. I'm completely well versed in all the IBM and Macintosh programs.
Well, Miss Coggins, you're obviously qualified for the job. You have all the necessary skills and experience.
Right? So she is qualified. She's smart and everything, but
you're extremely attractive. You're gorgeous. I'm looking at you. I can't even remember my name.
Right? Notice it affects memory. Like, it's crazy how he's repeating what I said. I haven't watched this in years.
So I'm afraid this is not going to work out. Thanks for coming. You're luscious. You're ravishing. I would give up red meat just to get a glimpse of you in a.
That's another one that's really qualified. Again, this is an exaggeration. This is just showing you the positives of modesty, and just watch.
I'm terribly sorry. Terribly.
As you can see, my references are impeccable. I think I'd be a real asset here. My only concern is
right? So notice this one is exactly like I'm telling you with Angela Merkel, right? Serious. The hair is not up unlike with this one. Okay. Now this one is wearing a vest, but notice this. She's showing her boobs. This one is not. It's all the way there, like a priest, right?
my only concern is
And her voice isn't sensual as opposed to.
I'm completely well versed in all the IBM and Macintosh.
Right, her voice will literally serenade your ears. Here. It's just straightforwardness.
my references are impeccable. I think I'd be a real asset here. My only concern is I do take care of my mother, so will there be many late nights?
I can't imagine.
Right? Because he was trying not to sleep with his secretary, so that's why he was picking her. But yeah, as you can see, it's not. Oh shit, people!
It's coming, Jerry. It's coming.
What's coming?
All right, sorry about that, people. All right, let's continue with this. So you get less respect. So to get more respect as a woman, it's not about getting uglier, people. It's just dressing less provocatively. I don't know what else to say. I remember there was this one girl in school where she always dressed like Billie Eilish, right? I didn't know, to be polite, I didn't know that she had the heavies, okay? One day she decided to wear like one of those like vests, not like shirt, but like, you know, those shirts that go all the way here. And so you saw that. And as I'm eating, and at like, it's almost like my ancestors were telling me to look that way. And I looked, holy bejesus. I was like I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. Now, anytime I heard her voice, anytime I heard her talk, it was a complete distraction, people. And it's not like I just I didn't do work. But I remember, man, it was from that day on, it was like an emotional reaction every time I saw her. My eyes lit up. And you just, what I noticed is I paid more attention to her. I didn't respect her less. You know what I'm saying? No, absolutely not. But yeah, I did notice the effects of that. Just having that, just crazy. And it wasn't even her fault. She was just trying to be comfortable. It just happens, man. Unfortunately, a lot of the problems that come from too much sexiness is not a woman's problem. It's just that it affects men so profoundly that we have to address it. It's just such a profound effect that it has. Even with basketball, I think I posted this video multiple times of what happens when you introduce a woman to an environment with men. And it showed that when men are playing basketball without women, they don't put a lot of effort, right? They play lazy. It's not a fun game. But as soon as women walk into the game, all of a sudden guys start putting more effort. Guys start being more competitive. So that's one thing about introducing and having sex appeal at the workplace, is that men will fight for your attention, and men will try harder to move up the social ladders to try to win the attractive women over. So that's one thing, is that it does create a more competitive environment, which, you know, it could be a good thing to a certain degree, but it's a reality that I don't want to not address because it's uncomfortable. So that's one thing. You gain less respect from men, but also you gain less respect from women. I remember there was this one girl in this school that I went to a few years ago. I went to a photography school for like a few months. And this girl, when I saw her, she dressed like with a mini skirt every single day. Every day. And she watches my channel, and she asked me, well, how do I come across? And I didn't know her, but she asked me for my honest opinion. And that was during the time I was really honest with people, right? That was during the time I was really honest. Mind you, I didn't talk to her. I didn't interact with her. And usually I'm someone who is very positive with people, and I perceive people in a positive way. But she asked me how she came across. And I told her that she came across as stuck up and arrogant. Because first of all, she didn't talk to people, right? That's just my own projections. You know what I'm saying? I told her not to take me seriously. That's just how I saw it. She got mad at me. You know, that's why I stopped being so honest with people. But the impression that she gave was stuck up and arrogant. She dressed sexy, didn't talk to anyone. Everyone else was dressing normal, but she was just dressed to the T. So she just gave off a stuck up image. In reality, she wasn't stuck up, because after that, I got to know her. I was clearly wrong, and I knew she wasn't stuck up, but that was just my automatic perception of her, simply because of her sex appeal. Because she was dressing sexy at a workplace. At a school place, right? Where everyone was dressing raggedy except her. So it's kind of like dressing sexy. You should look at the context. If everyone is dressing sexy, you could do it. But if you're the only one that's dressing sexy as a woman, women will pay attention to you, will notice you, will talk bad about you, and men will start misinterpreting you. Why? Because the next thing that happens, when you have sex appeal, men will hit on you a lot more. Because a man perceives the smile of a woman differently than other women perceive the smile of a woman. When an attractive woman smiles at a man, studies have shown that men perceive that as a sexual invitation. Not that you want to bang them, but a man will assume that you like them simply because you smiled at them. Where on the other hand, the same woman, studies have shown, smiling at women instead of men, that same woman elicited a response that women thought she was just being friendly. Now, add sex appeal to that smile, and all of a sudden, I think you're asking me to go home with you. Like, that's just how men think. Because pretty women don't smile at every man, right? Pretty women don't look at everyone. And men are rarely acknowledged by attractive women. Ask any guys, when was the last time a beautiful woman looked at you on the street just looking at you? And they'll tell you, it rarely happens. It really does, people. It's hard to believe. But a man will hit on you more because you smile and you give him any form of attention. That's just how men are. Because evolutionarily, the men that assume that the woman likes him at her showing a smile, statistically speaking, if you assume that she likes you, over the long run, that strategy works. You obviously, you're gonna have moments when you're wrong, but over the long run, taking that risk pays off. So men are wired to assume that simply because you smile at them and are friendly, you like them. So if you're a really attractive woman, your sexiness is gonna bring you a lot of problems at work, where you have to reject guys, and guys think you're flirting with them when in reality you're not flirting with them. And women will think that you're flirting with them because they see how men are reacting to you. When in reality, you're not even doing anything. In fact, they may even hate you more because your existence is too distracting. Right? Now, there's different... This type of standard depends on if you're a woman on your hierarchy at the job. Because depending on your hierarchy, it indicates that dressing provocatively may be most detrimental for females in higher positions of status, but has a lesser effect on judgments of females in lower positions. In other words, if you are the boss, notice Miranda Priestly, right? Let's look at this, right? Let's go watch Devil Wears Prada, and let's look at the scene where Miranda walks in, right? Right here. Okay. This thing doesn't look for it. Now, notice Miranda, right? Notice the way that she's dressed, okay? And notice everyone else dress is attractive looking in the way that she dressed, but out of everyone, notice how she's completely covered. She's completely covered. She dresses classy, but it's completely covered, where on the other hand, her workers show more skin. Okay? And that matters. Because if you're a woman in that position of power, the standards are different. It's not to your benefit to dress provocatively. Even Angela Merkel, she doesn't dress provocatively, because if you're in that position of power, you are perceived less powerful if you show too much sexiness. Oops, sorry about that. Now, if you're a man, it's different. If you're a man, being attractive and showing your sexiness, which is usually power, authority. A man's physical nature is more about power. A woman's physical nature is more about charm and allure. And unfortunately, the charm and allure works great in the dating and social realm, which women are the best at. They're social creatures. They're better at being able to read the social room. But men are better at the dominating war type of environment. And so the charm, the feminine thing just doesn't go well. It makes the man it's perceived as weakness, being too feminine in a power hungry environment, like a corporate setting. So that femininity is just going to project weakness, and that weakness is going to cause men to start treating you in a non-professional way, unfortunately. And it's their fault for doing that, first of all. But also, we have to address the real dynamic here, that there's just a nuclear force that is like an energy that just controls men and controls women too, you know? So that's one thing. Now, the next thing is this, okay? Is that dressing bland and modest projects power, like Elizabeth Holmes. Okay. And depending on the hierarchy, you could dress provocatively if you're of a lower class at the job, but you have less leeway if you are of the higher class, like if you're somebody who has power in the work setting. Now, the next thing is that sexiness causes men to think with their emotional limbic brain. In other words, a man's rationality is lowered to a certain degree, I don't know how much, depending on how they perceive the attractive woman to be. Like, that's why guys will literally ruin their personal life for a woman, will literally ruin their business life for a woman. Like, how many guys have been canceled? Like, look at Ime Udoka, right? Or that guy, like, just getting caught up because of trying to get with women in the workplace. They know it shouldn't happen, but unfortunately, the call of the siren, it's like that metaphor where they had to resist the call of the siren by putting something in their ears and not hearing it at all. Like they literally had to cancel the call of the siren, right? So a man with a woman will act with a sexy woman, that sexual appeal will cause them to act completely irrational. Now, let me show you guys one of my writings where I talk about this. And mind you, this is not to blame women. This is more so to help you guys understand the power of a woman and how it affects a man's mind. That's why the best spies are females. If you want to infiltrate a political figure, the best way to infiltrate the political world is to get a woman to hook up with a high famous politician, and that's been done many times. And they call it a honey trap. In fact, when I got mugged, I'll tell you guys a story. It happened because it was a girl, fake girl, when in reality it was two dudes, highly disappointing. In fact, I was more mad that it was two dudes. I'm like, where's the chick at? And they're like, hey man, we're bugging you, man. I shouldn't worry about that now. I'm like, god damn, man. Not only I got, I'm getting mugged, but it's not even a chick. But let me show you this. Let's listen to this. It'll explain it a little bit more.
Distraction. The presence of a sexy woman can potentially act as a distraction for some men. Sexual attraction can capture attention and divert focus away from tasks at hand, leading to decreased concentration and impaired decision-making.
Again, it's not to blame women. It's not. It's just impressive how much of a iron claw effect it has on a man.
Emotional arousal. Sexual attraction can trigger emotional arousal in the brain, which can affect cognitive processes. Heightened emotions may influence the ability to think rationally or may...
And also, it makes them more selfish. Like, when there's a presence of a beautiful woman and people are playing sports, men are playing sports, what will happen is like guys will literally play more selfish because they're trying to impress them. In the basketball world, we know that when a guy's not passing the ball, we usually just say, joking around, yo, is his girlfriend here? This guy's not passing the ball. Like when a guy's playing selfish and they're trying to do the crazy moves and doing selfish things, that usually happens when his girlfriend is there. I'm not even kidding with you. Guys just become more selfish. So and that kind of makes sense how the presence of a woman makes guys be selfish with their other male friends. In fact, the presence of a beautiful woman automatically makes the other guy my competition. Automatically. So now, since you're my competition, guys will all of a sudden start talking louder. They'll start saying things to sound more impressive. Their bodies will expand. They'll stand more, and they'll just try to dominate the room, all because they're trying to impress a girl. Right? And that's the nuclear effect that just one woman has on a group of guys.
Make clear-headed decisions. Cognitive biases. Research suggests that sexual attraction can activate certain cognitive biases, such as confirmation bias or halo effect. These biases can impact decision-making by skewing perception.
And like I said, female spies are a perfect example of that. The best spies that have infiltrated our governments were female spies. Heck, even studies show that men donate more to homeless people and to charity when there's the presence of other women. They become freaking a bunch of Gandhis for the sake of impressing women. And even apes do it, where when there's no females around, the apes will literally treat the children like shit. But when the female comes around, all of a sudden apes start treating the children better and they start paying attention to them, all because there's females around. And the reason why that is because they're trying to show them that they're good caretakers. But as soon as they leave, they start kicking the kids, they start turning their backs to them, right? And it's almost like it's an example of how guys also act in the real world, where if there's an attractive female in the room or in the vicinity, guys will virtue signal. guys will tell you how good they are. Guys will exaggerate their positive traits and decrease their negative traits. And it's one of those things that if a guy really finds you attractive, he's gonna virtue signal even more. And that's the issue with your sexiness, is that the sexiness will cause men, you know, studies show that men's morality lowers when there's attractive women around. Like their morality lowers. They're more willing to lie. They're more willing to deceive. They're more willing to deceive their friends. It becomes a dog eat dog type of world because everyone becomes your competition. So it's very hard to get the honestness of a guy when all he is seeing is something that he wants. When all he is seeing, when he is emotionally aroused. So that's why when you put a woman around guys, like I said before, they just start getting more competitive. And to the detriment to women, they just lie more. They'll lie about their height. They'll lie about how much they earn. They'll lie about how good they are. They'll lie about whether or not they hit women. Like, seriously, that type of stuff is crazy. They'll even, like, to me, the most crazy thing, they'll lie about having a family. Like I said, morality lowers at the sight of a beautiful and sexy woman in a man's mind. And so let's watch an episode from the Fred Friedman podcast where he talks about female spies. Watch this.
When an attractive female walks up to me and shows any kind of attention, is that how suspicious should I be when I'm traveling in Ukraine or different parts of the world? When an attractive female walks up to me and shows any kind of attention, is that
the guy he's talking to is a former spy, and he's going to talk about female spies right now.
Is that like this kind of James Bond spy movie stuff, or is that kind of stuff used by intelligence agencies?
I don't think it's used. It's absolutely used. It's called sexpionage.
It's sexpionage, and when it comes to mugging, it's called a honey trap.
That's the term that we jokingly call it, is sexpionage. But yeah, the art of attraction, appeal, the manifestation of feelings through sexual manipulation, all of that is a super powerful tool.
And it bypasses every man's defenses. This is why the female spies exist. Because it's much, you have an easier time getting a man to confess to things using pillow talk more than anything else, better than any interrogator.
The Chinese use it extremely well. The Russians use it extremely well. In the United States, we actively train our officers not to use it.
Yeah, good luck with that. Well, what do you mean? Oh, like the female officers?
Because in the end, it leads to complications in how you professionally run a case. So we train our officers not to use it. However, you can't control what other people think. So if you're an attractive male or an attractive female officer and you're trying to talk to an older general who just happens to be gay or happens to be straight and is attracted to you, of course they're going to be that much more willing to talk to an American who is also.
So it seems like sex appeal. Remember how I talked about how sex appeal causes men to lie more and to be more and to lower their morality, but also on the other spectrum, it causes men to reveal more things. So not only do they say more lies, but if they have things that are impressive, you know what I'm saying? Like if they'll lie about the negative things and lie about things that are positive, but then they'll reveal things that are actually real in the same light. Like they'll try to make themselves seem more important and stuff like that.
Attractive. So it's hard to walk that back.
In all definitions, so it could be all elements of charisma. That's attractiveness in a dynamic sense of the word. So it's visual attractiveness, yep. But the smile, the humor, the wit, the flirting, all that kind of stuff that could be used to
correct.
Well, in our case, we're talking more about the physical appeal. All right, so this is the last part, and this is about the different types of pretty privilege, okay? And this goes with the topic, and this YouTube channel is called Cove's Studio. First of all, if you have low self-esteem, don't watch this channel, all right? This channel talks about the physiology of beauty and the symmetry of it, and it's pretty interesting. Like, for example, I found out that I could be hotter if my eyebrows were lower, but let's watch this. All right, let's watch this right here because this is this goes so along with the topic in hand today. Let's continue this.
But what about pretty privilege? Have you ever heard of the idea that people are favored just because they're attractive? In fact, there is a term that describes this phenomenon very well: lookism, or appearance-based discrimination.
Lookism is we're all privy of it. In fact, the number one weakness of human nature is to trust appearances.
Is a matter that's actually well documented in economic, psychological, and sociological
It says
research
among those
papers.
types of discrimination, lookism or appearance discrimination refers to prejudice and unfair treatment based on one's physical attractiveness. Hell yeah, fuck yeah, man, it's crazy.
Actually well documented in economic, psychological, and sociological research papers. Similar to racism, sexism, or ageism, lookism is considered a form of discrimination based on looks, as described.
It's funny how that works because there's a lot of ugly people out there and we never march for ugly pride.
By Warhorst and colleagues. This is the first type of pretty privilege we're going to talk about, and it forms an umbrella that encompasses.
So the first form
all
is
of the
lookism.
The following types.
My accent came out, lookism.
Leotal goes so far as to link increased, repeated, and incident that forms from this type of discrimination with higher odds of poor self-reported health, with women especially actually reporting more repeated experiences of appearance-based discrimination. Especially,
yeah, which is pretty much what we talked about in this whole video.
In early childhood, this form of discrimination can really impinge on one's social life.
It says discrimination experiences in certain period, especially in early stages, can impact one's life. Wow. Those who are emerging adults are undergoing critical. Yeah, that's crazy.
Development, just like any other form, but with a more significant effect for social ability. Today we're going to learn about what is commonly known as pretty privilege. This refers to a social advantage like having a high educational or socioeconomic status that stems from being attractive. In this video we're going to explore the 6 types of pretty privileges as defined in the outside. And
so the first one was lookism.
That they are more likely to commit norm violation in the psychology papers, and we're going to also look at its causes and consequences in later development. We tend to believe that attractive individuals possess desirable social traits. Conversely, there is an unconscious negative view of
damn, why you gotta play him like that?
Unattractive individuals. For example, we often assume that they are more likely to commit norm violations or engage in socially unacceptable, undesirable behavior.
Yeah, if somebody passes gas, who did it? The ugly guy or the pretty or the good-looking guy? The ugly guy did.
In psychology, this is known as the halo effect. The halo effect is a cognitive bias, meaning it's something that influences the way we look at the world on the outside, and it's often something that we're not even aware of doing. Where people generally form
people in the left call it unconscious bias.
Opinions about something or someone based on their positive or negative predispositions. For instance, you might assume that a modern or attractive car is safer to drive than an older or unattractive one, although the data may not back that up.
Again, our number one weakness is trusting appearances.
When it comes to people, forming an accurate impression of an individual requires considering the dynamic interactions of many various traits. This means that different characteristics influence each other to create a final impression of a person. The halo effect leads to the formation of a positive general impression based on limited information from isolated physical traits. Typically, these are revolved around attractiveness, since that's what we can first judge about a person when we see them initially.
Yeah, the girl who I least expected lied to me. That's how it works. The girl that I least expected had a boyfriend. The girl who I thought that was the most honest was lying.
In other words, certain traits act as a halo, casting a positive light on other completely unrelated attributes. For instance, being physically attractive, which is the first thing you see about a person, may also cast a positive light on your impression of how intelligent they are.
And also, it depends on women, right? Because, like in the George Costanza video we saw, her looking attractive as a woman comes with I think people think they're dumber, like, blondes, you know what I'm saying? But less attractive women, I believe, are deemed to be more smart. Let me make sure. Let me confirm this. Are attractive women considered less intelligent than unattractive women? Let's see what it says. Attractive respondents are significantly more intelligent than unattractive. Oh shit! Now I'm trying to find our attractive perceived list. Okay, I found that women who had higher degree of creativity were viewed as more attractive, but that intelligence and emotional competence were not predictive. Okay, perceived abilities. It doesn't really show. I guess.
Or how warm they are, how charismatic they are, how capable they are. Completely unrelated traits. The opposite of this phenomenon has been referred to as the devil effect by Gibson and colleagues, and in one such podcast episode, we actually went into depth talking about something called the double devil effect, where being physically unattractive has a double negative effect rather than being physically attractive.
Damn! God damn. It's like the poor get poorer and the rich get richer.
Which has a single positive effect. In simple speak, it's worse being physically less attractive than the benefits of being physically more attractive. Where generally this means we judge less attractive individuals as less competent or less socially skilled, because this is the reverse of the halo effect.
Yeah, and it's almost crazy how usually the most successful people are usually good-looking people. Now, it like I said, remember how when you're good-looking as a baby, like when you're a good-looking kid, and you're going to be treated better. And discrimination has a deeper effect on children. So if you're an attractive kid and you're treated better because you're attractive, that's going to have like a compound, like it doubles the effect because it's happening in your childhood and it's happening in your formative years. And that's going to affect your self-esteem. And self-esteem is a big predictor of success in life.
This is particularly important because the overall evaluation of someone as good or bad influences our future judgments of that person. Therefore, the halo effect lies at the core of pretty privilege. Being considered attractive or unattractive by society's standards influences most aspects of our lives, at least to some extent. Beauty also affects quality of life. For instance, attractive individuals tend to enjoy a higher quality of life, which is repeatedly reported in scientific papers, but also this one's pretty much common sense. This includes earning higher salaries, experiencing more fulfilling relationships, receiving...
Yeah, that's the thing. That's really... I can't lie to you guys. Attractive people just have more fulfilling relationships. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because they compare... First of all, maybe I should talk about this in another video because that part is a little gloomy, to be honest with you.
Better treatment from others and having an overall sense of well-being. The most notable social consequence of being attractive is having higher self-esteem, which in turn leads to positive outcomes in various aspects of life. According to Leary and colleagues...
So another privilege is just better quality of life.
Self-esteem is influenced by how we perceive our value to others. This means that our self-esteem is tied to how others view us, evaluate and subsequently interact with us, which in turn forms if we have high or low self-esteem. In other words, our appearance determines how society treats us, which in turn shapes our self-image.
So it's a compound effect, right? Where a hot person interacts with a man, and not only is he interacting with the high with the beauty of a woman, but also he has to deal with the high self-esteem. You know, so so they have a different attitude. So it's not just the fact that you are beautiful that changes the way a man sees you and how they feel about you, but also your attitude. And that is something that a guy, I mean, there is a big difference between talking to a girl who she considers herself a 10 and other people have confirmed she's a 10, versus talking to a girl who considers herself unattractive. I remember when I was in Colombia, I saw so many girls have plastic surgery, and I was asking myself, why, motherfucker, like this pisses me off. I'm like, you're perfect. But the thing is, those girls don't think they're attractive. Like, they don't think they're attractive. So that's why they take plastic surgery. And that's why guys like Colombian women, because they're attractive, but they're not stuck up. You know? Now, some people might say you might be misconstruing high self-esteem with stuck up. I don't know, to be honest with you. But there is something about someone who doesn't really see how attractive they really are. There's a different sort of humbleness to them, as opposed to talking to a man who he thinks he's hot shit. There's a difference between dating him versus a guy who's the same level of attractiveness but thinks he's not that attractive. There's something different that you're gonna find that guy more appealing because it comes across as humble, when in reality it's just low self-esteem.
As a result, it's easy to understand how attractive individuals tend to have higher self-esteem, and as a result, they are treated better, they see themselves being treated better, and so they view themselves as being better. On the other hand, individuals who are perceived as less attractive often face rejection in various areas of life for seemingly inexplicable reasons. While it is evident that physical appearances plays a role in romantic rejections, and romantic rejections has a significant impact on self-esteem, that is not the only aspect for how this negatively impacts less attractive individuals. They also experience rejection in other forms, such as platonic friendships, workplace relations, or just
So, that's so true.
Being considered less capable by teachers, as is the
Yeah, because if you notice, the quarterbacks are always usually one of the best looking guys in the group. The best players are usually in basketball really good looking. Like even baseball players, it's because when you are an attractive person, people treat you better. And so you believe in yourself more, and so you take up positions of leadership more. Like it's a compounding effect that's like, it is unfair. It really is.
Common example. Beauty is also very highly valued in the labor market, primarily for the two reasons we mentioned above. There are significant benefits to being physically attractive, and economists theorize this effect called the beauty premium, where basically brands, colleagues, workers, and companies want to capitalize on your beauty by essentially turning looks into money.
Yeah, and it's people just want to be around beautiful people just because they're beautiful, just for the sake of it. And naturally, beautiful people actually resent that because they feel like they have more of a personality. And the truth is, I really hate to say this, but it is true. At the core of it, beautiful people just, I want to be careful for what I say here, but at the core of it, because you're getting so much positive reinforcement, you expect everyone to like you, and because of that, people like you more because you just had more experience of that. Where if you're unattractive, you experience more iffy, like it's more up and down. So it changes your attitude and how you interact with the world. So people just want to hang around people who are just attractive because they're attractive, but unfortunately they just have better personalities. They're more outgoing. They're more charming because they just had too much positive feedback. People, look at incels. Look at most incels are not attractive. Like literally, like incels are people who are not attractive, who are bitter because women don't like them. But usually it's very rarely that you see a model be an incel, because incels are just people who've been rejected. And unfortunately, that's a lot of guys. A lot of guys just don't meet these standards, and so that's why they get bitter. And a lot of women too. I hate to say that, but it is true.
Attractive individuals earn higher salaries compared to those considered less attractive. In one such groundbreaking study on the topic, Hamermesh and colleagues demonstrated an average wage penalty of up to 10% for individuals perceived as plain or unattractive, and an average premium of up to 10% for those deemed very attractive. The challenge is that unlike other forms of discrimination, lookism is actually not considered illegal. Does the beauty premium
not considered legal? I mean, illegal? I don't know.
Premium apply universally, or is there bias, then you might ask? Well, for instance, one might expect that being attractive as a salesperson or a waitress could provide significant benefits, and discriminating based on that would not be unreasonable. DeRugina and colleagues found that the beauty premium can indeed be task dependent. In a bargaining
So what does that mean? Let me see.
Task where individuals acted as sellers of electronic equipment, attractiveness strongly influenced the outcomes of the sale. In other words, attractive sellers received higher wages compared to unattractive sellers.
Yeah, so whenever you see an ugly guy who's the best seller in the company, boy, boy, I don't know how you did that, but it is true. The best salesmen are attractive people.
However, they did not observe a beauty premium in tasks that were more intellectually oriented, such as, say, data entry or being a programmer.
Yeah, so basically, outside of the fashion industry and any industry that you're trying to sell something that's not intellectual, like school or work, that helps. Everything else, beauty actually has a negative effect.
Nevertheless, other research has shown that the beauty premium extends to tasks both related and unrelated to appearances, such as credit markets, professional sports, college classrooms, and even elections. Pretty obvious that
I mean, look at basketball. The most famous, let me show you something, right? The most famous basketball player, the best basketball player in the world is this guy, Nikola Jokic, right? Look how he looks. He's not that attractive, okay? Let's just be honest. He's not an attractive person. But the most famous player in the world is Stephen Curry. The guy's pretty as hell, right? Or another player that people like a lot is Paul George. He's not the best player, but people like him, but he's attractive, right? Now, who do you when you think of like basketball players, the two most famous basketball players who revived basketball, they were Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Right? You see this here, right? Both of these guys, he's better than him. Bird, the French link looking like a leprechaun, is better than Magic. But who do you think people gravitate towards most? Who do you think people think is better than him? People think he's better than him, when in reality, this man was the baddest man on the planet. This man was the baddest man on the planet at one point, and people still think he's better than him. Simply because he was more charismatic and he was more attractive than Larry Bird. When you think of Messi and Ronaldo, to the casual, people think that he's better than him. When in reality, Messi's better than Ronaldo. But who earns more outside of everything? Ronaldo, because he's better looking, right? Let's continue. It's honestly, it's one of those things that I don't like about human nature. I'll be honest.
Thus, the effect persists even in situations where beauty does not appear to play an obvious role, where we get into some examples of that in our video. Why do athletes have more attractive faces?
There you go.
Or do you
well, usually because they're in shape, and just being in shape makes you look more attractive.
Hired more because of your physical looks. The beauty premium is primarily a result of the halo effect. Employers tend to assume that attractiveness is indicative of skill relative to the job performance, which leads to them being willing to pay more for attractive individuals. But it is also true that attractive individuals do have the ability to sell more simply because of how humans have cognitive biases towards other attractive individuals.
And like I always say, me and him, we did not make people. We did not make people.
One very understated advantage of being physically attractive is the ability to get away with norm violation.
Look at this. I just literally opened up an ad about Bumble Friends, and look who shows up. This random girl with the big hooters, right? And I literally stopped because of that. It's because people know the game.
Relations much more easily. Norm violation is the ability to get away with norm violations much more easily.
Okay, so norm violation. So that means like committing crime. So if an attractive woman commits the same crime that an unattractive woman, the attractive woman is going to get lesser time. But then it descends. If a woman makes the same crime that the man did, the man will get longer prison time than the woman did. And then it descends again. If an attractive man commits the same crime as an unattractive man, the unattractive man is going to get more time. But then if you have two unattractive men, and one is white and one is black, then the black one's going to get longer prison time. There's almost like a descending order of privilege. And in my opinion, the last one is race. But some people may not think of it.
Normally attractive is the ability to get away with norm violations much more easily.
There's another thing, is that if you're an attractive woman, a man will never think that you're going to steal from him. A man will never think that you're gonna do anything shady. A man will have less trust man will trust more. A man will trust an attractive woman a lot more than an unattractive woman, simply because of the halo effect, or better yet, who he perceives to be attractive.
Violations can range from minor infractions, such as cutting the line, to more severe violations of the law, where, say, in a two-way car crash, the person who is at fault may just depend on who is physically more attractive if the answer isn't obvious. The greater the deviation from the norm, the more society tends to dislike the individual involved. When
that's... I mean, look at Justin Trudeau. Corrupt as hell. Even rhymes. And look how he looks. He looks like a model.
Encountering someone engaging in suspicious behavior, quick and critical decisions need to be made, such as whether to approach the individual or alert the authorities. Attractiveness plays a crucial role in those kind of scenarios, but as we've seen, it can also lead to inaccurate judgments and predisposed decisions. There are 3 dimensions in which
I mean that's why a lot of the politicians are good people, good-looking people. Not good people, good-looking people, because they know the advantage that they have. You know, I mean, usually this is actually studies have shown this. I think that the best-looking candidate wins. Like a lot of times, the ugly candidate loses and the best-looking candidate wins.
Attractiveness influences this type of dynamic. The likelihood of committing a norm violation, the perception of intentionality, and the extent of social punishment. Attractive individuals are viewed as more likely to conform to societal norms. On the other hand, individuals perceived as less attractive are seen as more inclined to commit norm violations. This perception arises because attractive individuals are expected to behave predictably and to be well socially adjusted.
Yeah, it's because we already have a projection of them. We think they're good people, so whenever something goes against what we perceive of them, our perception of them, our brain blocks it. And you know?
Which makes sense because attractive individuals are treated better, so they have no reason to rebel against a society that treats them better. In contrast, less attractive individuals are regarded as unpredictable due to potential mistreatment or resentment towards society. We tend to attribute positive intentions to attractive individuals and negative intentions to less attractive individuals.
That's, oh my God, I thought of one scenario, oh my God, which I found so true. It's like, when you're with an unattractive girl, and the studies show this, that the more attractive the woman is, the less likely a guy it is to use a condom. What he perceives to be unattractive, the more likely he is to use a condom. Now, some people say, you're so hot, I don't want to use one, right? Which is, I kind of understand. But also because you're so hot, I assume you don't have something, right? But if I think you're unattractive and I go freaking Mother Nature on you, I'm gonna think I have something simply because I perceive you that you may have some form of STD, right? But I just thought about this now, and it's like, dude, that's crazy. That's crazy. What the truth is that for somebody to be good looking, their immune system had to be so good when they were developing as a fetus that they have a high immune system in order to look symmetrical. But when somebody isn't attractive per se, it's usually because they just have lower immune system. And studies do show that, and I want to look this up because I don't want to seem like I'm discriminating. Attractive people have a higher immune system, right? I don't want to seem like I'm discriminating because I know this is but according to research, attractive people have better immune systems, right? Look at this. I can't show have better immune system. And so there's a reason why we are attracted to and assume that, and guys just go raw dogging on women who are really hot because they just make the assumption that they don't have something. And studies do show that attractive women have less sex and unattractive women have more sex and more partners. I hate to say this, right? I just feel so bad saying this. I don't know why.
As a result, attractive individuals face fewer consequences for both minor and severe norm violations, which in turn contributes to a better quality of life for them overall. Generational effects are mating decisions that we make that affect the reproductive success of our offsprings later on. These are often influenced by physical attractiveness. The existence of these ideas in humans is debated but worth exploring nonetheless. According to evolutionary biology, a female's ideal mate is one with good genes, which in turn produces males with the best chance of reproductive success. We see this in most organisms, and according to evolutionary biology, a female's ideal mate is one with good genes, which in turn produces males with the best chance of reproductive success.
Well, I'm happy my mom is not ugly. Thank God. Holy crap.
We see this in most organisms, and there is good theory that this also applies to humans too. Therefore, other benefits that the father can offer are less relevant, including, for example, his capacity as a parental caregiver in comparison to his genetic strength. Therefore, what matters most is the future success of her sons rather than the success of her daughters, which in turn will have somebody courting them no matter how they look like.
Yeah, we're gonna finish it here. Let's keep listening.
More or less. This is called the sexy sun hypothesis, which is pretty interesting, and we have covered this 2 other times. This was proposed by Patrick J. Weatherhead and Rayleigh J. Robertson of Queen's University in Kingston. And therefore, to guarantee that success, they need to trade off for highly masculine fathers, which are often poor long-term partners. This in turn produces very attractive sons, which in turn can chase after a number of women and be successful.
Yeah, it's you'd rather have a sexy son so that he could pass on his genes to a bunch of kids, but if you have an unsexy son, then you better start hitting up findawife.com because he's gonna struggle. Anyways, this is a long video, people. I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was a topic idea that I had yesterday, and I just devoured a bunch of research for this. And this is the power of the female. It's not just a nuclear explosion that attacks men, but it also attacks other women and you. Like, the pretty privilege exists. There's a lot of cons to it, but there's more pros to it. But if you as a woman, you gotta make sure that you don't really you gotta hide. You gotta tone it down a little bit. That's what I'm saying. Because unfortunately, people just get too jealous of it. And don't get mad. That's how people are. Don't try to change the system. You can't. It's just human nature. So if you're a really attractive girl and stuff like that, learn to show it in the right context, but in school or work. If you want to be successful in that area, you gotta be a little bit more masculine and more modest. But in the streets, you can be whatever you want, girl, okay? Father Alex will accept you for who you are, all right? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button because this was a long video. Subscribe to the channel if you like content like this. Don't forget 50% off all of my all of my courses using the coupon code MINDFUL. And I'll see you guys later because Father Alex is tired.